Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back John Laufer.
Good information. There it is, there it is. Welcome back, everybody. I know a lot of people are coming back from the demos and also from getting a snack too. So how about the morning, right? How about some of these products? The X1 Yoga, right? We have the X1 tablet. I think I'm still on the X1 Yoga side. I'm not so much of a tablet guy. Steven said, you know, are you a tablet guy? Are you over here? Or are you on the X1 Yoga side? I still think I'm on the X1 Yoga side. My eyes are getting bad. I still need that 14-inch screen, and I always like to have my keyboard. Right? So exciting things from a business perspective on our laptops, on our tablets, all the way to our workstations. So next what we have is we have a couple of guys coming up from our data center group. And they're going to talk to you guys about some improvements, some interesting facts about what we're doing. So first we're going to have Madhu Matta. He's the Vice President, Server Storage and Solutions BU. And then after that, we're going to have Brian Connors come up. And Brian is the Vice President of Next Generation IT and Business Development. So help me welcoming Madhu Matta.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Where? Tell me where on the planet, in 1.5 hours, you will see the future of mobility, connected devices, the cloud, gaming, virtual reality, and there was much more. You won't, right? But there's one thing to remember. All of that, let me give you a quick stat that I read. I remember the times when I was given a suitcase. My first cell phone was a briefcase, right, that weighed a ton. And today I read statistics that say 5.5 million connected devices will come online as we speak every day. Now think about that for a minute. You heard a lot about devices today, laptops, PCs. Guess what is common for all those things? One of the most exciting things that are required, a data center. Be it a cloud format, be it an on-prem data center, doesn't matter. What's key is a back-end data center. And a data center needs what? Servers, storage, networking, solutions, services. That's what we're here about. So my name is Madhu Matta, and I think sometimes I have one of the best jobs. I get to talk to many of you on a daily basis on the needs of your data center today and your needs of your data center tomorrow. The data center is in transformation. We all know that. You saw that today. So I want to thank all of you, first of all, before I start, for being here. There's many customers here. There's many partners here. I want to thank you for your business. I want to thank you for being here. I know many of you have traveled a very long way. Fortunately, I didn't have to this time. I live local, but I don't work local. So it was very nice to be here in my hometown to speak to you. But I want to thank you once again before I start. So let me start first by, let's start with who we are. You heard a lot from the mobile business group today. You heard from the personal computer group today. I'm the first speaker to kick off the data center group. Who are we? First of all, we're a global organization with over 2,500 people. Our entire portfolio, we have an entire end-to-end portfolio of servers, storage, networking, solutions, and to wrap it all up, a set of services that are critical to our customers, right? I'll give you a few examples. I have my colleague here, Brian Connors, who will come up next to talk about networking. But I'll give you some quick examples of our server portfolio and storage portfolio. I'll go into a lot more detail as we go on. Our server lines are split into two swim lanes. The first swim lane is called the Think server line, starting with the entry, mid-range, all the way to the high end. And then we have the System X line that was referenced this morning, which came to us from IBM, known for its deep heritage of innovation, engineering expertise, and if you were watching a little earlier, the introduction, #1 in reliability and quality. To complement that, we have an entire roadmap around solutions. When I go around the world talking to customers look at me and say, I wake up every morning with a business problem, And I'm not looking to see how many pounds of servers or storage I want to buy. What I'm looking for is a solution to my business problem. So we have an entire roadmap around solutions that address those customers' needs. And lastly, services: design, implementation, consultancy, and managed services. Many, many, many customers. You know, there's a saying out there, IT for most customers is cost of doing business. In hyperscale, IT is their business, not in the enterprise. That's the cost of doing business. And that's where wrapping all this around with solutions makes a very, very big difference. In storage, again, we have two swim lanes. One is our S-series line of product that goes all the way from entry through mid-range. And then the more premium line of V-series that start again at the entry, go through mid-range, and oh, by the way, there's a higher end of mid-range. There's a set of bands, and we cover that entire spectrum up to the higher band, the higher end of mid-range. Now, when I looked at some of the IDC numbers from March for storage, it's a $40 billion market. But for the first time, they reported that the classic SAN storage market is in a little bit of a decline. Why? Because there were 3 new models coming out there for storage: cloud storage, software-defined storage, and of course the classic storage. So what you're going to see today is not just our line of classic SAN storage, but we're going to be one of the first to get into the software-defined storage market, and I'll talk more about that. You heard a lot about cloud today, and when we talk to our customers, every CIO is talking about cloud. But as we dig deeper, what customers are really looking for is, yes, they want to move to the cloud. To them, cloud comes down to one thing: the idea and the choice of workload placement, the flexibility of workload placement. What they don't want is a set of PhDs to go through reams of reference architecture documents just to implement cloud on their premises or off-prem. So our goal is to address their cloud needs with a very simple set of architecture, which I'll walk through in just a bit. I keep going back to this morning. Incredibly exciting morning. You saw the announcements today. All those devices, their primary purpose is to generate data. What do you do with that data? It's just raw data. Unless you can gain real-time insights from that data, it's just data. The 5.5 million connected things that are going to be coming online every day, all they will do is keep generating data and sending it back to you. That's where big data and analytics come in. Again, there's a lot of solutions out there, but you need double PhDs to implement those solutions. Our goal is to set up a very simple set of solutions around big data and then analytics, and I'll walk you through that too. And lastly, engineered solutions. We see that as the future. Here's what that means. Solutions is a very overused term. Most customers in the classic enterprise still use the Microsofts of the world, the SQL servers, Oracles, VMwares. There's literally every company out there that says, don't worry, I can do solutions for you. It's just a matter of taking some hardware and throwing a workload on top of it and making sure it works seamlessly. That's not what that means. The idea here is all about saying, let's take the workload and engineer a solution underneath it such that what you get at the end of the day is not just a workload. Anybody can do that. What you get is a workload, your workload, running 5% faster, 10% faster. That translates into real business results. And that's the focus in that area. Now, all this great stuff would be fantastic if we didn't have a clear strategy of delivery. So underpinning all this is the third vector here. And our strategy is in 3 simple steps. Like I said, the theme here is make it very simple to our customers. Number 1, open and flexible. Right? I'll walk you through what that means. Secondly, purpose-driven innovation. Innovation that matters to you, not innovation for the sake of innovation. And third, a transformational customer experience. What that means is, from the time the sales team walks in and engages with you, the customer, all the way through your buying, through your purchasing power, through a business partner, ordering, logistics, the entire life cycle, We look at that as it's got to be completely transformational. That's where we start to differentiate in many, many ways on the customer experience side. So it's very simple. 3 tenets. I'll walk through a little more detail. As we brought the System X in, one of the biggest things that we could bring to System X, we already brought the development team in with their long history of deep engineering expertise and innovation. But what we brought is DCG is part of the larger $46 billion Lenovo Group. What that does is brings to the customer an incredible scale of global economics as well as supply chain. We have 8 factories, 55,000 employees, and as much as we are a division of the company, we get the advantage of that tremendous scale and economics. We are the largest buyer of so many components out there that gives us purchasing power and a set of economics that few can compete with. And we translate all of that into our products and services that eventually come to you at that level of economics. I don't want to go through each of these stats, but you can read them for yourselves. But these stats, this level of scale, has brought us now to the number 3 largest x86 provider in the world today. I don't know how many of you knew that, but that number we're very proud of. Clearly, we want to be more proud when we get to number 2 and eventually number 1. And we believe strongly that our strategy that I'm going to share with you today will get us there. But as of today, we're now number 3 in the world. Now, I talked about our strategy, and I want to reiterate that and quickly go into each of these. The first one is a quick one, open and flexible. By itself, it's 2 words with a little spring attached to it. What does that mean? How is it advantageous to you, the customer or the business partner? Right? Next, purpose-driven innovation. What does that mean? Right? I'll give you a few quick examples, and then I'll get to a little more detail. When we deliver our products today, our focus is what's the life cycle of the customer? What's the return on investment the customer is going to get? So our flagship servers, for example, have 2 sets of innovations that I can talk about today. One, the 3650, 3850, the 3950 are flagship products out there that drive most of the SAP HANA databases in the world. They're built modular. Why? So that tomorrow there's a new generation of processors from Intel, our friends at Intel. You don't need to change the entire chassis. All you do, we call it a little book. Change the little book, you get a new processor. That is an incredible return on investment when you can do multiple generations of processor with the same chassis. Our water-cooled systems that Brian will talk about next. Our warm water-cooled systems driving 40% more energy efficiency today in most data centers around the world that use it. There are many, many, many more innovations, and there are a few more examples coming up. And lastly, the customer experience that I talked about. So let's take each one of these very quickly. The first one, open and flexible. What does that mean? In a nutshell, it's very simple. Versus the strategies of many of our competition who believe in hundreds of millions of dollars in organic investments. While it has its own advantages, the challenge is we live in an incredibly innovative world. We're here in the Valley today. Right around us there are hundreds of companies out innovating us on a daily basis. Our strategy is to ensure that we bring you the best of breed solutions out there by partnering with the best, versus relying on hundreds of millions of dollars of organic investments and eventually trying to protect those investments in the hope that one day they will see fruit. And in the meantime, we get out-innovated out there. So our strategy is to bring the best in. Here's a small example of an ecosystem that we deal with, right? You saw Intel, you heard of Intel this morning. There was Juniper this morning. Brian, again, will talk about a lot more about our ecosystem of partners, but that's just a small sample of it. Next, I talked a little bit of innovation. I don't know how many of you know this, but a lot of that innovation has driven some of the world's fastest systems that drive, eventually, predicting severe weather patterns. That has helped so many businesses. Take Walmart, for example, a quick example. The ability to predict severe weather patterns drives their revenue in an unprecedented scale. You ask me how? Well, if you walk into a Walmart before a storm hits, all their aisles, everything on those aisles change magically about a day before the storm hits with products that they know people will be stocking up for a 24-hour storm. Imagine the revenue that just grew with knowing that little piece of information. I mean, there are many examples of that. our systems power the world's fastest systems out there for predicting weather patterns. Next, faster analytics. Again, between the 3850 and the 3950, we drive some of the fastest systems for predicting better analytics. Online transactions per minute. That relates to MySQL, Microsoft SQL. The faster the system, the faster you have more online transactions, the more your revenue with more transactions. We run one of the fastest in the world for that. And lastly, virtualization. The faster the system you have for running more and more virtualized servers, you have much better amortization of that system, right? So we run most of that. You have over 2,000 engineers working on it. We have 17 world record benchmarks. All this has led to that previous chart that I showed you of being number 3 in the world. And lastly, customer experience. Providing a great customer experience is one thing. Being number 1 in reliability is another. When a customer knows that he's buying a product from the number 1 reliable partner on the planet, there is a peace of mind that comes with that that transcends everything out there for that particular IT person. But the fact that he doesn't have to go home and worry that his data center infrastructure is going to fail is huge for these people. They are working 24/7. Number 1 in customer experience. And by the way, these numbers are from third-party vendors out there. One's ITIC, which is the Information Technology Industry Council, and the other is TBR. And to complement our customers, despite the fact that we're number 1 in reliability, we have 10,000 support specialists in case something goes wrong, to react immediately. Now, as a data center group, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Over the last few days, we've made some very exciting announcements. This morning was all about new technology and announcements. And we as a data center group don't want to be outdone at all, right? So we've made multiple announcements over the last few days, and I'd like to walk you through, as opposed to 40 slides of our entire portfolio that many of you are familiar with, let's walk through what the new and exciting stuff coming up with. So on the server side, let's start with the server side. Our first announcement that we made a few days ago was a refresh of our mission-critical line, the X3850 and the 3950, our flagship line that I said that runs SAP HANA like nobody else does. No other vendor has it. We have over 55% share in an SAP HANA space, and I will tell you there are many, many companies who would kill for that kind of share. It's an incredibly hard database to install and configure, and we have the maximum share there. And that's the product that drives that and powers most systems out there. So there's a refresh for the mission-critical X6. We'll also be announcing an entirely new platform for our dense line of servers. On the storage side, like I said, very exciting. We have 2 announcements to make. One on the software-defined storage that will completely revolutionize storage economics. The storage industry is already dipping, primarily because of some of these new trends, and we want to be first out there with a set of appliances that you can use today. Oh, I didn't build that out, sorry. And of course, we can't forget our classic line of storage, so there's an entire refresh from 6 gig to 12 gig with our classic line of storage that I'll touch upon. And lastly, the next-gen technologies with both hyperconverged with Nutanix, as well as our networking portfolio, and I'll leave that to Brian to talk about. So let's talk about our server first. So our first announcement today is with our 3850, the new platform with the refreshed E7 V4 processor. In LinPack tests, that product has already shown over 39% in performance. We're also scaling the memory capacity in that product from 6 terabyte to 8 terabyte. And it will take HANA to a whole new level of performance with this scaling. And it's a very simple upgrade, like I said earlier. It's a little book. You replace the book. You've got an entire new chassis and a new level of performance. Many of you already buying our dense line of products may know our next scale line. This is the product that has water cooling as one of the options. It drives Europe's fastest supercomputer out there today. 40% less energy with the warm water cooling, and is shipping today. Now, I wanted to put that up there to show you what we have today. This is not a new announcement. But what we're doing is expanding the dense line. This is a brand new platform. We're very excited to introduce. This is a 2U 4-node platform that we're introducing today. The chassis has a model number of N400. The nodes that go in have a model number of ST350. It's based on the latest Intel Xeon E5 V4 processors. And in a single 42U rack, you can see the numbers in terms of what we can scale up there today. 3360 cores, 42 terabytes of memory in a single rack. And equally important is the numbers on the right side. We compared those numbers that you see on the right side to what you could do with a previous generation, let's say Ivy Bridge, a single 2U node. With this product, you now can do 4x the number of workloads, but it's a 2U 4-node, it's the same height, more nodes. 12x consolidation of workloads from a previous generation of a 2U product. What that means is, to run the same amount of workloads here with the same power and performance, you would have needed, with the previous generation, 12 2U boxes. Think of the power, the management, the cooling savings that you get just out of this one box versus previous generations. And lastly, we looked at the competition. We actually ran this product and set it up versus the competition, and we found that it was 48% less in terms of time to deploy with our Xclarity management platform and engine. Let's talk about software-defined storage. Now, that's been a buzzword that's been out there for a while. But ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know, this is real today. These products that I'm going to show you in a minute will be shipping in the third quarter of 2016. Let's start with software-defined storage, right? You've heard all about it. The beauty about software-defined storage is not just the revolutionary economics that it's going to provide, but the fact that it's all x86 based, which plays perfectly into the fact that we're a leading x86 vendor. 35% growth in software-defined storage. And an object, just object, is 27%. What is object storage, and why is it growing so fast? Every image you produce. We talk to many customers who run their contracts and need those to be signed with PDFs. That's an image. Scan documents, that's an image. Photographs, that's an image. File and block, which is the other two brothers of the or sisters of the storage space, are not growing near as fast as object is. And you can see why. Images is where most of it's at. Healthcare is all about images. That's object storage. So that's growing the fastest. And we all know the growth in storage. I don't have to walk through those numbers. So we've created a program called Lenovo Store Select. And what Store Select does, like I said earlier, one of our core tenets is to be open and flexible. Store Select provides a programmatic program for our partners to accelerate their onboarding. And I'll walk you through partners today who are in the audience who have helped us very quickly onboard two solutions. Let's talk about the first one. Cloudian. Cloudian is in the room. I want to thank you and congratulate them. They helped us, along with our Store Select program, to launch very, very quickly our first object-based appliance. And this product will ship in the third quarter of 2016, coming up very, very quickly. Secondly, for file and block, we call it the unified storage appliance. Software-defined, again, I want to be clear. These are all software-defined storage appliances for file and block. So the first model is the DX8200C, C for Cloudian, and the second one, same number with N for Nixenta. So we cover the entire gamut of storage needs. And lastly, not to be left out, right? It's still a $40 billion market, an entire refresh of our classic storage line. And what we're introducing here is a few things. One is a 6 gig to 12 gig refresh of our storage line of classic storage. Secondly, we're also introducing an all-flash model and a hybrid model that we didn't have earlier. So today with the V-Series, you have a classic SAM, which is all disk, all flash, and hybrid. 6 gig to 12 gig. And additionally, we're also introducing compression into these products, which give you a 5x scale in economics that wasn't there before. Now, that's for the portfolio. But like I said earlier, many of our customers say, I love it. However, we are starting to look at brand new models of consumption of IT and delivery. Number one is cloud. You can't wake up or go to sleep without hearing that word a million times. And our strategy is very, very clear. Most customers today, and many of you in the room, know that you need to move to cloud. Some of you may have already moved some of your workloads. But most of you are where we believe you are today, which is in a virtualized, siloed environment. We take that as the foundation and say, cloud is a journey. How do we get you on that journey? Very, very simply, and with very simple steps. Step number one is to get your existing virtualized infrastructure onto an on-premise private infrastructure that is hosted. The second step is to then say, I've done that, I like it, however, there are certain workloads that I just don't want on my premise. I've chosen my most favorite public clouds out there, and we're guessing it's 2 or 3. I think YY said that this morning. We agree with him that it's the same 2 or 3. We then say, look, we have a very simple plug-and-play solution for you that allows you to go from your on-prem infrastructure to off-prem. And we've chosen the 3 top platforms out there. Microsoft Azure, with Azure Pack, that will be out in 4 weeks. The OpenStack and the OpenStack distribution from Red Hat. And lastly, VMware with software-defined data center. VMware will be out first in the next 4 weeks for an on-prem private. And by the end of the year, all these solutions will move to our hybrid format. Very simple, no PhDs required. I think that's going to be my tagline. Right? I think there's a saying that says, no water required. I think we've got to say, no PhDs required. Simple, plug-and-play, turn on. With a services wrapper. Many of these engagements are going to start with a services conversation, and we're designing a set of services offerings to make sure that we guide the customer along this journey. Next, big data and analytics. Such a big word. It's really 3 simple things. It's 3 simple steps. You have petabytes of data that you need to analyze. They are a mixture of structured data and unstructured data. Most objects are unstructured data. What do I do with it? I first need to analyze it using Hadoop or a flavor of Hadoop to get to a set of structured data patterns. Step 1. Once I have a set of structured data patterns, I now need to get my favorite set of analytics applications to run on top of that structured data to eventually get a set of business results. Once I get the business results, I need to be able to visualize those results and report it to my CEO, so that they can fund new projects. That's the third piece, visualization. So that little column over there, we're working with many partners out there to build solutions for all 3 steps of that big data journey. And lastly, engineered solutions. We start with SAP HANA today. It is our flagship engineered solution. And we're going to be building a lot more engineered solutions underneath that. So with that, I just want to wrap it up by bringing it all together, and we call it the Lenovo 360. Not to be confused with what you saw this morning with the Fab Pro or the Moto Mod. We start with our foundational core of IT. Servers, storage, software, solutions, networking. It's a long list, and we have an end-to-end view of that. An amazing ecosystem of partners to bring you the best-of-breed solutions. Our global scale and economics, that almost nobody out there can bring that level of scale. Wrap that up with an entire end-to-end range of services. And then we bring in the orbiting satellites around that, around the core. Cloud, software-defined storage, let me build that out. Hyperconverged infrastructure that Brian will talk about in a minute. Our innovation center, which is called System Technology Innovation Center for our next generation innovations. Solutions, high-performance computing. So the ability to take the core, wrap it with services, and then go around addressing literally every other emerging market trend out there is really what Data Center Group is all about. Okay? With that, I want to thank you, and I want to bring on Brian Connors. Thanks, Brian.
Okay. Thank you, Madhu. Well, look, I'm happy to be here. I, too, want to thank you for being our customer, being our partner, and actually many of you probably learning about what Data Center Group is all about as we really enter in this journey. We've got a great history. And what I'm going to share with you here is really where the evolution of the data center is going. My role as next generation IT is really looking and partnering with the best of the best in the industry and our own internal teams to really take this to another level. I'll also introduce some platforms that complement and actually leverage what Madhu went through, because as we build solutions, we have to build them off platforms that we have today. So first, let me talk about the evolution. You know, historically, computing was around discrete computing. We call it discrete. One processor, one application. And today, that has kind of gone by the wayside. But in reality, in things like high-performance computing, it's still there. It runs bare metal computing. You don't hear that often anymore. You hear virtualize. Second is virtualization. Virtualization is here to stay, but it's evolving. Moore's Law is helping it to evolve, and it's continuously going forward. All components of the computer, I'm using the word computer loosely, it's a system. It's made up of servers, storage, and networking, are evolving. It is part of the evolution, but also ultimately it is the catalyst to drive what we call the software-defined data center. So as we look at this notion, we're really looking at how consumption of computing and the dynamics of virtualization are really taking advantage and leveraging what's the technology underneath it. There's a hierarchy here that I call. You know, as I mentioned before, at one point there was, you look at a box, a computer sitting out here, and it has a processor, it has memory, and it's all interconnected. We call that kind of an internal network. But it's sitting inside of a data center. And so as this starts to evolve, the computers themselves are in the data center. But with virtualization technologies, with software-defined networking, and as you look at what all the evolution is occurring, if you heard Pradeep from Juniper this morning, he really talked about the high-speed network and how important it is in the data center. So as you look to tomorrow, the data center itself is the computer. It's totally inside and out, where we are looking at data centers as a pool of resources to provide services, and we're managing it as an environment, as one unit. A lot of technologies here are creating and evolving to that. You're going to see very, very high-speed networks coming, and the whole elasticity of software-defined capabilities helps us to get there. So where once the data center housed computers, tomorrow the data center is the computer, and you're going to look at this. And that's, in essence, what you kind of expect from a cloud. It's always on. You expect it to be very, very elastic. You expect it to be invisible. You just want it to work. So as we look at all the devices and everything we're doing at Lenovo, we don't want you to know a lot of what's going on in the back office. We want to make it invisible, always on, high performance, capable, but to deliver the services that are needed for all this data being generated in the future. So now let me switch to what we're doing in the Data Center Group to really create products that are going to apply to this. Madhu talked about the refreshes of our platforms, our servers, our 3650, 3850, our new SD350, and also our software-defined storage with our partnership with Nexenta and Cloudian. We're first expanding our HX series, and I'll take you through that. That's our partnership with Nutanix. Second is we've introduced a modernized cloud NOS. We have switch level networking. We've introduced something called cloud NOS. It's showing in the back room here. It's modernized for the data center of tomorrow. And then third is Juniper. You know, we've announced the Juniper relationship a while back. We'll start to lay out here what we're actually doing with Juniper as we go forward in the products that we announced earlier this week. So let me first start with the HX series. And again, I think part of them, I want to thank the Nutanix team. Part of them, I think, are here. Brian Cox and perhaps Sudhesh is here. But we have a very, very strong partnership with Nutanix that goes beyond just putting software and hardware together. It's around co-development and innovation that we can go help bring further and further simplicity to our customer set. So this product really is a centerpiece. You know, we're committed to this next generation of hyperconverged and software-defined data centers. We've expanded this in many dimensions. First, we've taken what we had was 3 models that we introduced only 5 months ago, and we expanded to 11 models. We've taken what we had in one segment around enterprise, and we've expanded it to not only enterprise, but also remote office, branch office, and SMB. And then third, we've taken one form factor where we had before, one platform from our platform team, and expanded to 3 platforms. So you're going to get many, many different kinds of platforms to fit your needs going forward. And then finally, as we look at SMB and we look at the robo market, it's bringing IT and simplicity that we've been working on for enterprise to people in industries and companies that don't have the skills, but at a much lower price point. So as we introduce the XI series down to SMB, it's a simple, easy to deploy, easy to manage at a very affordable price point for those who don't have IT staffs going forward. So specifics. We've seen that we can actually achieve 60% operational expense improvement with the HX series. We've taken deployment of complex siloed systems of storage, compute, and networking from months down to days. And we've improved the overall performance because this has storage close to the CPU, close to the processor. It's in the server itself. We've used our 2U 3650 platform that Madhu talked about. It's world-class. It's a hardened platform. Same thing with our 1U 3550 platform is the basis for that product. And then the new 2U 4 node, which is the SD 350 that we talked about. This really brings simplicity down to a price point and capability that was unmatched before. More importantly, as we look at how we design these systems and, quote, engineer them, as Madhu talks about it, it's engineered to be hardened. It works. It's one throat to choke. You come to Lenovo. If there's a problem, you come to us. We ensure it deploys, is supported, and works for our customer set. Very important when you're dealing with customer-level data, and your important data is that it is together and that you can trust us as opposed to piece parts coming together. It's too important to lose. Examples. We have only introduced this about 5 months ago, as I talked about. We're seeing success in segments, many segments, finance, pharma, manufacturing, education, just general IT. We've had over 1,200 engagements in this short time across all geos. And our biggest win is actually in India, an emerging market, where it has 24 nodes of a server. This is not a POC. This is not somebody just kind of kicking the tires. It is somebody actually deploying with 1,300 cores and 500 terabytes of memory, of storage. So it is a big system. It's starting to deploy. Now with the expansion of our platforms, we're going to see much more deployment as it goes forward. They're comparing, our clients are comparing this to traditional vBlock from the other company out there. They're looking at the TCO, the operational expense, and the ultimate scalability of these platforms to really help them drive scale, but starting small in a simple deployment. Now, let me switch over to our network side of the house. You know, we've got, we look at this as really the backbone. You know, to run the data center of tomorrow, we really have to have a high-speed interconnect, a fabric of sorts that really come together so everything can work together and workloads and data can move around. So we've introduced our CNOS, and I'll take you through that. And also, the data center is not just about servers and network access. There's a lot more going on in the data center: security, routing, campus support. And that's where the partnership with Juniper really comes in. So first of all, we've got a very rich heritage in networking at Lenovo. We've got over 18 million ports out there deployed. Now, you got to look at the history. You know, the networking team came in as part of us coming over from the x86 from IBM. It came from an acquisition in 2010 from Blade Networks Technology, where we were very active in embedded switches. And even before that, back in 2006, Blade Networks was really a spin out of Nortel. And then there's actually some things before that. So the history we have with networking is very, very long and very, very storied. But we've got over 18 million ports. And you put that in perspective, 18 million ports, and you can go kind of Google it on, maybe Google it. It's about 4 times the number of ports needed to run what is reportedly Google has as their data centers. So it's like 4 data centers what Google has. We've got that many ports. Now, that's with redundancy. That means 2 per. So it is robust. We've also been deployed in many of the Fortune 500 customers. So the history and the capability has been there, but it's really been around the server and server access, not in the complete elements of the data center. So as we look forward, we needed to do something around our cloud NOS as you look at scale-out computing. And so most data centers today, or historically, have been kind of vertical, very vertical. And so network operating systems, we call them, were that way. They were very stagnant. They weren't elastic. So we needed to come out with something that had reliability, had scalability, and was open and flexible. First, our CNOS is built on a new architecture. It is able to isolate and secure processes from other processes. So just like the cloud, you need to have environments. If something were to go down in a process next door to you, the whole network doesn't come down. So it gets isolated. So scalability is next. And the scalability to really take on thousands and thousands of servers is very important. It's built for horizontal, not built for this vertical capability. So as your needs grow and your data centers grow, it grows with you. Third is programmability, openness. A lot of DevOps, you want to have containers. You want to be able to create new environments and bring on new applications from third parties, and third-party APIs are available. This allows you, enables you to do that, but in a secure way because it can isolate it. You can do that DevOps in the same network environment, test them all out, and then bring them into the environment. So this is truly modernized operating system for the data center going forward. So we're very proud of the team. They've been working on this for the past few years, and we've introduced it. It'll start to ship and be downloadable in a couple of weeks from Lenovo. Next, the data center of tomorrow is the computer, as I talk about. There's a lot more going on in the data center than the servers and the networking. Our partnership with Juniper is holistic. It's very complementary. It allows us to work together in an area that we don't really play in the data center. Juniper has a great history in innovation. It's a great story of founding here in the Valley, but they're very, very strong with service providers. They're very, very strong in security, very, very strong in routing, and things that connect to the outside world. So this partnership becomes very, very symbiotic as we look forward, as we look at this relationship. Together, we're creating reference architectures. The team back here has a couple of them. We created a reference architecture for the virtualized data center. That in conjunction with VMware, with our own top-of-rack switches, with Juniper switches, the entire environment is tested and qualified by us together with Juniper. Globally, we'll go to market with Juniper. We have a reselling agreement that we announced a few products earlier this week. The AX platform of products, something we didn't have, something they have that we'll be taking forward. The higher end switches, the spine switches, the 25G, the 40 gig, the 100 gig switches that they have. And again, back here, there's an example of one. Things that we don't have that actually can complement us going forward. These are very, very good proof points of what we can do together. But let me show you about what it really looks like in a data center. So a typical data center has servers and server farms everywhere, sprawling. Our switches are very key to that. We have a very long history of embedded switches that sit within a chassis, but also on top of rack. But there's a lot more. Juniper comes in, and they actually help fill this out. The core of the data center network, the routers, the security, the campus connecting to the metro. So as we talk to customers around data centers, we want to talk to them end to end. So as we look at the future of the data center being the computer, we just can't talk about servers and storage. We have to talk to them in a language they understand going forward, and in partnership with experts who understand this much better than we do. So we're very, very happy to have this relationship and this partnership. You're going to see a lot more of it globally as we go forward, and it's something that as we look together with Juniper, you're going to start to see more and more innovations going as we go forward. Now, I can't get off the stage without talking about innovation. Madhu talked a little bit about our water cooling and the capabilities that we have there. We look at high-performance computing kind of as an HPC is an engine. It's an innovation engine. It's a racing arm of who we are in DCG. For example, Formula One racing. It's pioneered things like airbags. It's pioneered things like even the push button to start your car nowadays. So you can push that button and start that gear shift just like that in 2 steps. It's pioneered anti-lock brakes and turbocharged engines. All this was all tested and sampled and put on the edge in Formula Racing years ago. But it's trickled down and it's found its way. They push the envelope. HPC, kind of lunatic fringe, they push the envelope. Sometimes it's held together with rubber bands and paper clips, but it works. And what they're doing is they're trying to get time to results and really push the envelope of platforms and hardware. Many, many technologies have lineage. From cloud computing. Grid computing we had many, many years ago. If you talk to a traditional HPC guy, they'll say, we did that 15 years ago. Not quite the same, but very close. Virtual desktops, very similar. High-speed file systems, very similar. So a lot of the technologies that have come from the HPC innovations of the past are coming into the future. We use HPC to solve problems. We're working with some of the best companies in the world and best partners in the world to actually solve real problems. Madhu talked about it, weather. You're looking at weather patterns, when a tornado is going to come, where it's going to hit. Can you actually put physical placement of emergency personnel in locations as you can predict this? That's all being done in this matter. Human brain research. We're modeling the human brain with partnerships over in Germany. Nuclear weapon testing. We don't blow up bombs anymore. They actually model them here. Automobile manufacturing, automobile design, crash analysis, goes on and on from an engineering standpoint to solving and helping in pharma and other areas. So we've got many, many cases and customers that are using our platforms to go do this. But we're still pushing the envelope here. There's new horizons going forward. Machine learning, deep learning is an area we're getting into. You're starting to hear a lot more about it. It's using the analytics and the depth of capabilities of our systems to go solve it. Energy efficiency. You'll see a water-cooled node back here. Intel, Moore's Law is going to slow down a bit, as you heard this morning. What that means is things are going to get warmer and hotter. Densities are getting smaller and smaller. So the ability to actually save money in these large data centers by energy efficiency, using energy efficiency, is very, very important. Water cooling, other areas that we're doing with balanced workloads, all our technologies that are being driven in this area that are going to help us in the data centers of tomorrow. So as we look at our customer sets, we look at 3 categories. One is what we call marquee customers. Those are the big systems. And in 2 weeks, we'll be in Frankfurt, Germany, doing a supercomputer show. There's 2 a year, one in the US and one in Europe. This will be ISC in Germany. We have very large supercomputers. I'll take you through an example of Chineka in a minute. The second is in commercial. Commercial is really where the help is. It's in engineering. It's in financial credit risk modeling. It's in pharma. It's in all areas of our work. And I'll take you through an example of Vestas. And then finally, higher education. We call it transactional, but it's higher education, our buying systems for research. And within Lenovo, we're very strong in this area, specifically now in North America, with the relationship we have with Lenovo and Lenovo proper. We're actually really growing that business quite well as part of the Lenovo family. But let me take you through two accounts. Cineca. Cineca is an Italian company that we want a major relationship with. We've had them as a relationship on different architecture, non-x86, when we were back at a different company. They work with a company very closely with a company called E&I. E&I is an energy company in Italy. And Cineca is really the research arm. So we put in 30 racks, 30 big racks of our next scale platforms. I think it was probably last month. Within 2 weeks of delivery, within 2 weeks we had delivery and it was up and running, and we ran what's called a LinPack run. LinPack run is one of the most exhaustive tests you can run. It's used for top 500. It takes about 9 hours on this class of system to run with 0 failures in anything that runs, which is not very easy because you're running this over probably at 130%. You don't turn it up just to 100%. You turn it up to 130% and run it. From delivery to up and running, 2 weeks. 1.7 petaflops. It has a chance to be one, with a partnership with Intel, by the way. It's one of the largest systems Intel has deployed with their new interconnect technology. So we will be very, very active in 2 weeks showcasing this machine. That's 30 racks. We're going to do another 50 racks by the end of the summer. So we've got this down. This is really a testament to the relationship we have with Cineca, but really a testament to the team and the engineering team that Lenovo has that can do this kind of complexity and this kind of work in such a short time. The second is Vestas. Vestas is an energy company in Denmark, and they actually make windmills. And you think, oh, you see all these windmills, along the highway. But there's engineering in doing this. There's engineering in where you put the windmill. You want to maximize where that windmill is for where the maximum airflow is coming through the valley. So you have to understand weather to physically place the windmill. We work with Vestas on that, on the turbine design, and then how they analyze where the wind streams are coming to maximize the energy off the windmill. But it's also an IoT device. They are collecting more data and information and doing analysis right at the windmill and the turbine with our systems. So there's analysis and analytics occurring to constantly make changes and adjustments and also get all the data off the windmill. We're basically partnering in the development of these things with them. So it's just not a vendor-supplier relationship. But these are two great examples, and it's a trusted relationship between us and Vestas as we move forward on the next generation of what we need to go innovate. So this brings me to trusted partnerships. Madhu talked about it. This is very important. It's a big part of my role and my team's role. To be in the data center, to be the #1 trusted partner in the data center, you have to have trusted mutual relationships with partners. It has to be mutual. It has to come through to our customers. We are open and flexible. That really means we have no conflicts. So when we deal with these partners, there's not a conflict. We may have a little once in a while, but it's not like we're competing with them. And that's the partnership relationship. The second is our customers. Our customers know that we're going to be very unbiased. We're open. We don't have our database that we're going to go try to sell in place of someone else's. So they know they're going to look to us to give them help and the best solution going forward, as opposed to being biased one way or the other because we're trying to sell them something. And with the partnerships we have, we're actually bringing value to the customers. I like the quote that really comes from Rob Enderle about the SAP relationship. You see it up at the top. He wrote this, I think, in January when we announced it, and he may have actually refreshed it recently. But he says, this deep relationship is actually potentially stronger than if the two firms were parts of the same company. It's an important statement coming from a company that had everything. 1 + 1 is much, much greater than 2. when you can bring these partnerships together and bring them together. And we think we've built the best of the best with SAP, with Juniper, with Nutanix, and we're building with Red Hat. And there's more. We just started with Nexenta. We're starting with Cloudian. We've got relationship with Microsoft. These are partners that you trust, our customers trust, and that we have a mutual trust together, which is very important as we move forward and to be the #1 trusted partner in the data center. So finally, Madhu talked about this. We have the best of breed solutions, without a doubt. We are open, we are flexible. Our innovation is really there to solve customer needs. We want to push the envelope, though. We want to push the innovation. We want to test our engineering capability, but with partnerships, not just back in a research lab. Finally, customers come first, end to end. There's no debate. This isn't about, did we ship it and is it somewhere in transit, but we feel good back at the factory. That's not the case. We look at this end to end as we go forward. So finally, we are committed. We're committed to you, we're committed to our partners, we're committed to help really drive this evolution to the next generation data center and really make the data center the computer. It will be evolutionary. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen the same in every geo. But we promise you, we will push this envelope. We will break down silos. We will be disruptive where we can against protecting others that are competitors who are protecting their profit pools, but really help bring you the best of the best from Lenovo. So with that, I want to say thank you. I think you're going to talk. So anyway, thank you very much. Grab water.
All right. Thank you, Brian and Madhu. We really appreciate it. Some exciting news from our DCG group. Now, before I close out, I kind of been teasing you this another yellow sticky up here. Hopefully, we're still here. Kevin King from Chevron. I hope you share the same excitement for the X1 Yoga that I do. So we have an X1 Yoga for Kevin King from Chevron. Let's give him a round of applause. All right? Best 2-in-1 on the market. So, as I close out, thank you so much for being with us today. It really means a lot. Thank you for sharing your day with us. A lot of exciting news this morning, a lot of exciting news this afternoon. So our showcase will be open for a little bit longer, so please take your time, go through our products, and understand what we have to offer here at Lenovo. Have a wonderful afternoon, have a safe travel plans, and we, again, thank you so much for coming.